Here we go then. Hello and welcome to Dan Mate, I suppose. This is my new YouTube channel. I know most of you guys are probably coming straight from my FPL Mate YouTube channel, but I thought I'd start a second channel over the summer as FPL seems to be delayed a little bit for this season, not coming out until July at some point. So I thought, let's talk about some other football stuff in general. I love football, I love YouTube. Let's make some football videos on a different channel instead. And I thought we'd start off it's pretty obvious where I thought I'd start off, and I thought I'd start off with my own team, Arsenal. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing today. We're going to talk about Arsenal, the transfers that are coming into Arsenal right now, which are just amazing. Gabriel Jesus, the latest of the transfers to come into Arsenal, some other potential Arsenal's transfers that are coming in. And then we're going to finish off, we're going to talk about how Arsenal might line up going into the 2022-23 season and kind of discuss, are they now a top 4 team? Are they now a team that can compete with the likes of the Champions League teams? Are they Champions League quality? So guys, if you do enjoy this video, please do leave a like, please do subscribe, because as I upload this video, I have 0 subscribers on this channel. Be the first, I guess. But yeah, let's get on with it. Okay, first of all, we've got Gabriel Jesus. £45 million is the amount of money that Arsenal are paying to Man City to get him into the club. And it seems like a pretty good deal. I would say that's a pretty good deal. As I record this video, it's just personal terms that need to be discussed now. But the deal, the finances in terms of the clubs, they've agreed. We've got the £45 million, which is really, really amazing. And the fact that Arsenal have beaten the likes of Real Madrid, who I know was spoken about as a club that Jesus would like to go to, and Chelsea and Spurs as well, those Champions League teams who were in for Jesus, and Arsenal have pipped the lot to them. So clearly you would say that Jesus is going to be buying into this project at Arsenal. I think that what Arsenal are doing right now, if you're a neutral, I know it's very hard to say this, and I know you're definitely going to disagree with me on this one, but surely as a neutral, Arsenal are just such a likeable club right now that you would just want to come to, because the project that's going on right now is just amazing. Arsenal buying in younger players, rather than going for those short-term fixes, those older players, those riskier players. We've got a proven quality in Jesus right now, which is absolutely amazing. Every time you watch Jesus play, and we've seen him, for many seasons at Manchester City, come in when Aguero's been injured, for example, when Aguero's had some of his injuries, and he has just come in and done exactly what's been asked of him, scoring a lot of goals. His goal per game ratio, his goal per 90 ratio, his XG, it's all looking very good whenever he is on the pitch, and we saw that a little bit of time last season. Bringing it back to FPL a little bit, a lot of us had Jesus in our fantasy teams because he was pretty good for certain periods of the time when he was playing, and it's always been about with him when he's playing. So if he can come to Arsenal, get the game time he needs, maybe he can become that player that he was touted to be, because remember, he was touted to be one of the best strikers in the world when he first signed for Man City, and he just has never really had enough game time to really properly prove himself, but he's certainly proven enough that he can do it in the Premier League, and that's exactly what he's going to be doing at Arsenal. The minor concerns is that he has said in the past that he's wanted to play as a winger, and he has played as a winger at Man City, but when he's coming to Arsenal, we can see what Arsenal's layout kind of looks like right now, and surely he is going to play as a striker. Arsenal don't really have a striker. Lacazette has left, Aubameyang has left. Yes, Nketiah has signed for a longer term deal, but I don't know if Nketiah is a long-term solution if we want to really be competing, getting in the top 4 places. Yes, Nketiah is very good, but is he going to be enough? Maybe Jesus is going to come in there straight away, take that number 9 shirt. That seems pretty obvious. The number 9 shirt is very vacant for him, and he is going to be that number 9, that striker that Arsenal really, really desperately need. So just taking Arsenal's lineup as they have it right now, if we're going to put Jesus anywhere, we're going to put him up front as striker, as the number 9, and already that Arsenal team looks improved. Vieira, whoa, Vieira, whoa. He came from Portugal to play for Arsenal. He's here. It's not quite as good as the other Vieira that we had once upon a time, but it's still a pretty good Vieira. This is actually a really decent signing. I know a lot of people are quite kind of nervous about this one, not quite sure what to expect, but believe me guys, I was exactly the same as you. I wasn't really sure who this player was. I hadn't even heard his name before, but I did a little bit of research. I've done a lot of research actually. I've been on watching YouTube clips, looking at stats, looking at everything to try and find out what this player is all about. And I'm actually feeling a little bit more confident now. So in the under-19s Euros tournament in 2019, he was in the team of the tournament. Then again, he played in the Euro under-21s Euro tournament. And then he was in the team of the year again for that competition. That was only last year. And then in that tournament, he won the player of the tournament as well. So in this youth level, he is very, very highly rated. He has been doing very, very well for Portugal in the youth team so far. He's recognised in these European youth tournaments as the best player in the tournament just last year, which says a lot in terms of how he ranks among the top young talent around the world, I suppose. He also won Midfielder of the Month in April in the Portuguese League, which was only a couple of months ago. Midfielder of the Month, that's a pretty good award. And he had 14 assists and 6 goals in the Portuguese League last year as well, which is especially good when you consider that a lot of his minutes were actually off the bench, because it was kind of his breakthrough season. He wasn't starting all the time, and but Porto in midfield actually was, you know, quite packed. They've got some very good midfielders in there. As you probably heard some other of them being linked with all kinds of other clubs as well. That's just standard. But he is looking like really good in terms of his numbers per minute played. He hasn't played the most amount of minutes. He's played certainly a decent amount of minutes. It was his breakthrough season after all. But he's actually averaging over 1 goal contribution per 90 minutes, which he's probably not going to be able to replicate in the Premier League, but it's a good place to start, right? Now, I know Arsenal fans will probably expect a little bit of a bigger name signing, I suppose, a signing that everyone's heard of, for example, but that's not always how football works at the moment. You know, you've got to think of the money ball approach, picking players based on stats and stuff like that, rather than taking the traditional approach to transfers. And if the stats are as good as they look to me, then there's a really good player here, and maybe this is actually quite a sensible signing. He's young, he's definitely a player for the future. I don't know if he'll go in the starting 11 straight away, but if he does, he would be in that left centre mid position in a 4-3-3 in place of Xhaka. Xhaka potentially leaving, but Xhaka was also playing in an unnaturally high kind of position last season for much of the season, not in the typical defensive midfielders he's expected to play, but in that 4-3-3, we do kind of need that left central midfielder, and I do think he could potentially work quite naturally in that position, especially as he's a player who takes a lot of shots on. That's kind of been a big criticism of Odegaard. Doesn't really take many shots despite being in that advanced midfield position. So out of the two more advanced central midfielders, I suppose, for Arsenal, we have got Vieira now with that ability to take some shots, score some long shot goals, and has that creativity as well, as he's proven in Portugal. All right, on to some players that haven't signed for Arsenal yet, but are really looking like they really could do. So we've got Lisandro Martinez, a very, very highly rated player, a defensive player from Ajax. He's playing, you know, some really good football in the last couple of seasons, and everyone's kind of raving about him. Manchester United really, really want to get him out of the club as well. He's from Argentina, and people typically think of him as a centre-back, and I would say that yes, as being a centre-back is his primary position, and the main criticism there that would come immediately to mind is that he's 5'9", and 5'9" as a Premier League centre-back probably doesn't really work that well, unless maybe, I don't know, you're a left-sided centre-back in a back three potentially, maybe that could work. But what is really good about Martinez, and I think this is why Arsenal want to buy him in, is because he is quite versatile, so he can play very well at left-back, and we know Kieran Tierney spends a lot of the time in the season out injured for Arsenal, and it's been a constant struggle. You know, Tavares has not quite cut it there. Other players have been toyed with in that position. Cedric, Xhaka, I think even Tomiyasu can play there, can't he? So different players have been tested out at left back, but we do need a player that can cover the left back if needed. And I'm not saying Martinez would be a covering player. He is good enough to go straight into Arsenal's starting 11, but we are going to need a little bit of depth there. The same with Nketiah. You do need that little bit of depth just to cover, because, you know, Arsenal are going to be playing in the Europa League, so it's going to be a lot of games available for players to play. There will be a little bit of rotation there, so I think Martinez ordinarily is probably going to play maybe as a centre-back potentially, but I mean, as standard, maybe he plays as a CDM, maybe he plays as the left-back ahead of Tierney, CDM ahead of Partey. I don't know exactly, but for the sake of this video, let's assume that he goes in at centre-back alongside Gabriel. Raphinha is another player linked with Arsenal. I'm not sure if this one is actually going to happen. I'm not actually sure if Arsenal need to get Raphinha. It seems a little bit of a luxury transfer, but you know, if I'm a big fan of this player. You know, if you guys have been following my FPL YouTube channel, you'll know that I rave a lot about two players who don't play for Arsenal, and those players are Bowen and Raphinha. I just love watching them play. I'm massive fans of both those players. Raphinha, I've been a fan of for a couple of seasons now, since he's been playing in the Premier League with Leeds. Just an absolutely magical player. Would love to have him at Arsenal, but I'm not sure we really need him. Now, obviously, he's been heavily linked with Barcelona. It looks like Barcelona can't actually afford him, so Barcelona's going to be kind of off the options for Raphinha, so maybe it's going to be a case of Arsenal or nothing. Arsenal have already submitted a bid for Raphinha. The bid was not good enough. There's going to be more bids though, we're expecting. So Raphinha to Arsenal, where's he going to play? I guess he has to play at right wing, which would move Saka over to the left wing position. And yeah, that's kind of how the Arsenal team is starting to shape up here. And, you know, if this signing goes through, that would be pretty insane, really, wouldn't it? Other players that have been spoken about are Asensio, potentially, Nkunku, Tammy Abraham, although I don't think that's going to happen now that Arsenal are looking likely that they've signed Jesus. Aaron Hickey, potentially, as well there. But Tielemans, Youri Tielemans from Leicester, that one does actually look kind of likely. So I kind of like the look at this one. I think he could be a really good signing for Arsenal, and it's been one that's been spoken about for a while. Didn't have the best seasons last year, but we've seen in the past, he genuinely is one of the best central midfielders in the entire Premier League. Maybe not last season, but seasons before that, absolutely amazing. Still very young, so can settle in for the long-term project at Arsenal as well, which is fantastic. And then I think maybe he competes for the left central midfield position with Vieira, maybe a bit of rotation there. I think Tielemans, if he was to come in, he would be the primary left-sided central midfielder. And this midfield looks insane. This like genuinely looks like an absolutely insane midfield now that we look at, you know, this three, I guess. It's got the perfect balance of everything you kind of need. And you do have that depth as well there in midfield, which is really good. The one thing Arsenal have lacked, and we all know Arsenal lacked kind of in the depth, which is what they hopefully have now, which is going to be crucial, especially with them in the Europa League next year. So guys, this is what the Arsenal team could look like going into next season. So Ramsdale in goal, then a defence of Tomiyasu, Gabriel, Martinez and Tierney. Into midfield, Odegaard, Partey as the sitting midfielder, I guess, and Tielemans there as well. Raphinha, Jesus and Saka as the front line. That's a pretty elite front line there. And then you've still got players like Vieira in reserve, you've got Nketiah in reserve, Saliba is coming back from loan as young player of the season in Ligue 1 last year. Another insane bit of depth there. And suddenly Arsenal have got a good squad, good first 11. Everything's looking a lot better. And you could go as far as to say that this is potentially a Champions League level team, or at least you'd hope this is a Champions League level team. I mean, this just looks really, really good to me. This competes with Spurs. This competes with Chelsea. This is, you know, this puts Arsenal a lot closer to Liverpool and Manchester City, which is something I didn't think I'd be saying, you know, maybe a month ago or 2 months ago. I didn't think Arsenal had the finances. How do they have the finances? Well, this is the question a lot of people have been asking, you know, where is all this money coming from Arsenal? But you have to remember, Arsenal are genuinely one of the richest clubs in the world. They have been for a very, very long time. The problem always has been is that they just don't spend money. They always, you know, operate at a profit. And this has been a constant criticism from Arsenal fans, is that they operate at a profit, or, you know, breaking even, despite the fact that they're one of the richest clubs in the world, you know, just as rich as your you know, Liverpools and your Chelseas and all of these other clubs that we typically see as being richer than Arsenal. They're actually not richer than Arsenal at all. They're constantly, you know, in the top 5 richest clubs in world football. So this is where the money's come from. It was always there. It just was never spent before. So I don't know, maybe that's why we're kind of seeing an influx now. Panic stations have set in. They've, you know, got a lot of players on big wages off the wage bill, so that's freed up a little bit of money there, a little bit of space there. The wage structure has been, you know, decimated years ago, and Arsenal are kind of in a position where there's a good project of young players coming through, a long-term project. Even though Arsenal are in the Champions League, they still remain a very desirable club, and I'm all here for it. I'm absolutely loving it. I think it is absolutely insane. And I do think that Arsenal, when we get to game week 1, the first game of the season, we could be saying that Arsenal have had the best summer transfer window of any Premier League team, maybe any team in the world, if you know, these other signings come through as well. But so far so good. I'm definitely not complaining. Arsenal fans, I would love to hear your thoughts. Non-Arsenal fans would love to hear your thoughts as well. What do you think about Arsenal signings, and do you think that they can compete with some of the bigger boys in terms of, you know, race for the top 4 places? I hope so, but I'd love to hear what you guys think as well. And that is the end of the first video on this YouTube channel. Guys, like I say, please do support this video and channel as much as you physically can, because this channel, I'm literally starting this channel from nothing, from zero, from nada, from zilch. So please do subscribe. It would be amazing to see if we can get to 1,000 subscribers over the next couple of weeks if I keep uploading on here. So yeah, let's work towards that if possible, guys. And yeah, basically, thank you so much for hopping over from my other channel to this one and giving me a little bit of support on this one. You know, I love YouTube, I love making videos, and I love football, and the idea of having to wait weeks before FPL launches without talking about football to you guys at all did pain me. So we're here. Loads more football related videos to come on this channel, but if you've got any suggestions for other videos you'd like to see on here, very much open to suggestion. This is very much a passion project, so yeah, we'll just have some fun with it over the summer and then see where it goes from there. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you later, mates. Bye bye. And should that be my catchphrase on this channel as well? Oh, I don't know, I've done it now. Bye bye.